Okay. Thanks, AJ.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here today, and I'll try to keep us on topic and on time, hopefully this afternoon. And we're going to carry on with a very good program, kind of piggybacking from what we had this morning. And we've been talking about the very dynamic industry that we have in the beef industry right now, and that comes with a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunity. And being able to weed through some of those opportunities to try to figure out with some innovation, okay, well, where can we go for the future? And that's what we're going to be talking about. And with all these big changes and these innovation, I think it's very fitting. We have Dr. Tom Field to speak. Well, right now, after I'm done talking. And Tom, he's actually the director of the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And I think it's fitting to kind of point out his column that he writes, Out of the Box. And I think that's good about talking about some of these technologies, or what we've been referring to as disruptive technologies, and how to weed through the mess to figure out how can it truly help our livestock industry. So without further ado, I'll turn it over.
Well, it's great to be here. Sort of reestablish who I really am. I spent the last 10 days on a ranch in Colorado. I own a cow-calf operation there in addition to the other crazy stuff I do. And no one who's in power there, which is our manager and his team, anything that was expensive or high tech, I was not allowed to participate with, but I did get to fix a lot of fence. And I will tell you, the coolest change in technology I've seen is they finally took on a fence stretcher, they finally rounded the edges on the handle. That's like super cool. So that's my technology for the last few weeks. Disruption, whoa, man. And Mark did a really good job. He told you this morning exactly what disruption really is about in the most technical of sense. But disruption's, it's real in everything we do, right? Cattle market, if you like volatility, you love today because it's never been more volatile than it is. The moves in the markets, disruptive. Consumer behavior, which and consumers, it's so much fun to do consumer research because if they fill out a survey, you have about a 10% chance that they'll actually act on what they told you, right? Customer discovery is really, really hard. Things change a lot. Now I'm going to admit I'm 60, right? So now I'm in the old grouchy bastards club, right? I'm officially there, right? And got to get the T-shirt and the pin. I got to pick that up at the next meeting. So disruption for us is even harder, right? So you young'uns, this is no big deal. You're like, what's the problem? Well, let's talk about that. For most of us, anything new kind of has this effect on us, right? I mean, we are not by our nature people who just love a new idea. Because, especially if we're a little older, we've had a few of these, right? We've lived through some of those. We've had some days where we spin our tires with technology that just never gets us where we want it to go, right? So understand, I'm not coming to you from a place that all technology is good and every technology should be used in every situation. And as a matter of fact, most of the really cool ideas available to us are decidedly low tech. Lots of the really good ideas are decidedly low tech. So disruption, it opens doors, right? That's really what disruption is about. It's not negative, it's more of a positive. It's the way you think about it. And the biggest thing I think is the undervalued asset, right? The undervalued asset. That's where there's real opportunity. That is real opportunity. And we've been doing that, and Mark pointed that out this morning. Generation, we've done that over and over and over again, and grass is our number one thing. Right? It's this undervalued asset that we've made really good use of. Disrupting existing business models. We'll talk some about that, and we'll talk about a couple of really cool ones outside our industry and some things that I think are coming at us. But it's also reimagining the model. That's what you guys did right, with U.S. premium beef. You reimagined the model, right? And that's really important. You can reimagine production models. We used to calve our ranches at 7,000 feet, the headquarters. Cows will at one point in time get to experience what about 9,800 feet is like. It's cold all the time. Our church has a sign. It says God's chosen frozen. And we used to calve in February. I don't know why. We did it for a long time. And finally one day we said, what the hell are we doing? And we changed. We reimagined our model, right? That's disruption. And we had cowboys on our crew like, oh! Well, no, guys, you're going to be a lot happier and warmer. It's going to be better. Trust us on this. Existing technology applied in a new way. We're the last to the table. We are the last dog to the bowl. Okay? McKinsey, best consulting group in the world. They just did a digitization study. They looked at all of the industries in the world. They grouped agriculture with hunting. And we're last in virtualization. It means we're the lowest technological using industry in the world. A bit of bad news, but actually I think it's really good news, because you know what happens? It means everybody else's R&D has paid for technologies we can now adopt for pennies on the dollar with almost no R&D budget. I'm okay with our position on that one. And then reoccurring revenue. This is the one, anybody under 30, get this in your head. You have to figure out recurrent revenue that doesn't require your time. You have to figure out recurrent revenue that doesn't require your time. That's the most disruptive model you can adopt, right? Because it creates real wealth, right? Real wealth. Gives you your time back, gives you more time with your children, gives you wealth you can reinvest in your community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So recurrent revenue, don't look down your nose at that, right? And I come from a generation of like, get up at 4 and work till midnight, got to be there every day, and man, if we leave the ranch. Fact of the matter is, our ranch has been run with professional management for about 15 years without any of the owners permanent on that ranch. We're profitable. We're happy. Would I love to be there? Yeah. And you know what? What our manager says is, I love to see about once a month. Right? So it can be done. Here's the big challenge. So when we think about disruption both in technology, but there's 4 that I think are big deals for us. Who are we going to partner with? So while I think it's important you come to events like this, especially if you are a tad younger and a little more agile and nimble and willing to try some new things, instead of coming to a ranching or a cattle conference next, go to a tech conference. Get yourself outside of this industry. Your partners are not going to come from inside this business. They're going to come from outside it. Silicon Valley, that little triangle of San Francisco, Berkeley, and Palo Alto, right? The golden place, right? The Silicon Valley. How many ag companies there do you think? How many startup ag companies inside the Silicon Valley today? Decidedly ag, absolutely focused in the ag and food space. How many of them? How many do you think? 15. Less than 100. 0. Any other guesses? You guys are riding the fence really, really well. Proof that this is post-lunch. 900 plus ag companies in the Silicon Valley, startups, right? That's where your partners are. That's where your partners are. Your partners are in Austin and, God, I hate even saying this, Boulder, right? Invite them here. It'll be an easier conversation. Talent. The fight for talent is huge. the fight for talent for ag. It's our number one problem. How do we get the talent, not only at the management level, but every level in our business? Big challenge. Farmer-owned data. I am a huge advocate for individual enterprise owning its own data. I do not want to give my data away without some kind of return back to me to large organizations. I want to reverse engineer every piece of machinery on our place so that we're actually capturing the data as fast as John Deere captures it. Right? I don't want to give that data away. Why? Because it's where the money's going to be in the future. And then market access, absolute critical. So there's a lot going on in the world, right? And it's pretty easy to just go, oh, it's overwhelming, right? Because I feel overwhelmed all the time. But what's cool is that there are these evidence that we can reimagine things, right? The largest taxi company in the world owns no cars. How cool is that? That is because cars are a big-time expense, right? They're a depreciation schedule, and they're kind of a pain, right? I'm kind of excited about a place that doesn't really need bulls. They need bulls, but they don't need bulls, right? Because bulls are mostly a pain, right? The largest lodging organization in the world doesn't own any buildings. And yet they book more rooms for more people globally than any other hotel organization in the world. Right? That's the world we're in, and that's what we're going to get to deal with. And so we better get in the conversation. Right? We have to get in the conversation. It doesn't mean that we have to buy every technology or every concept that comes down the pike, but we need to be informed and we need to be in the conversation having it. And here's the thing about the breakthroughs. The breakthroughs never happen with the first solution. As a matter of fact, if you want to get into the world of entrepreneurship, never, ever, ever fall in love with a solution. Fall in love with a problem. Fall in love with a problem. How do we get these cows bred without the bull? How do we get people moved from one place to another without owning the cars? How do we give people a better experience in their vacation by providing them the opportunity to live with a local? Right? Fall in love with the problem. Because the problem is where the magic is, right? I get inspired by crazy things. Anybody seen Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie, right? Captain Jack Sparrow. I kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow. When I retire, I think that's what I'm going to become. I'm just going to become a pirate because I just think that's really exciting. And he says, look, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. So breakthroughs come from throwing paint, from throwing spaghetti, from falling in love with the problem, looking at a million different ways, and being willing to change the solution over and over and over again until you get it right. But change is not new, right? It's not new. It's old news. Now, if you're young, we'll have to explain a few of these things to you. Okay, my generation, how many of you remember these? How many of you grew up with a party line? A party line, young people, is where other people could listen in on your calls. Right? And you had it was crazy. Who could imagine, right? It's craziness. The early search engine. Right? This is where you actually went to the library. And there was a box, and you looked in it, and it told you where to go to find the information you wanted. And you had to walk. I put my phone down, but it's really not a phone, it's a camera. Right? Remember these? We don't do that anymore, right? We used to merchandise everything as a carcass. dumbest thing ever, right? All kinds of empty space, all kinds of transported dead weight. I mean, they were just bone, right? It's crazy. Aha! Breakthrough. I do not want to go back to the upper left. When I was a kid, we did that. It was good for your fitness, but it sucked. It was not fun. Now, I grew up in the Horn Hereford business, so I can get away with this one, right? There actually, once upon a time, was a use for the horns. That's how we ID'd them. Right? We've gone through all kinds of changes in ID. So change is not new to us, right? And Mark made that so clear this morning. It's not new. This is just a recurrence of the old stuff, right? The one thing I do think is happening, though, it's speeding up. I think it's speeding up. And these game changers are real. Somebody is imagining beef without cows. Leather without cattle. Okay? Now, do I get all freaked out about this one? No, I'm pretty neutral on this because number one, I'm like, okay, maybe it introduces people to the product and they go like, wow, yeah, this kind of gob is okay, but I'll bet a steak would be really good. Right? The other thing I think about is this is really industrialization commodity. This is a real commodity. I don't think this is the ultra quality thing, Mark, at all. Right? And besides, if people don't want to eat GMO, are they really going to fall in love with lab-raised food? I am not sure yet, but I'm neutral on this. I don't freak out about it, but I'm studying it like crazy, trying to understand it, because it's real, right? It's not a figment of imagination. What if they're right about non-fossil fuel vehicles? By 2050, and this is what the Detroit boys are saying, by 2050, 65% of America's non-commercial vehicles, so like not trucks and trailers and all that, but just resident, kind of private-owned vehicles, 65% will be non-powered by fossil fuels. So what does that mean? It's going to have an impact on the corn business, and it's going to have a big impact on the ethanol business. We're going to have to make a lot of corn whiskey. Right? That's a change. I don't have to worry about it, quite frankly. Won't affect me very much. But if you're under 30, you better be thinking about this. What does this mean to you? What will happen? What's the end? What's the outcome of that? Right? Because it's going to have an impact. This is another game changer. We are no longer going to play with half our talent on the sidelines. We can't afford it. There will be more women CEOs of agricultural companies in the next decade than in all of combined history prior to that, and we will never look back. Right? So if you have, and let me just ask, how many of you have daughters, granddaughters, who are bright, smart, talented, tough people? How many of you have daughters and granddaughters? Yeah, absolutely. The world is wide open to them. And as an industry, we must embrace this at absolute warp speed because we need the full talent pool. Now, you heard from Don about how we've got this massive growth in population, the need for protein, and yet in that same time frame, we're going to turn over 60% of America's farm and ranch land to a new generation in that same time frame. We are about to go through the biggest real estate exchange since the purchase of Louisiana by Jefferson. We are going to transfer an amazing amount of wealth, a phenomenal amount of wealth. It is almost obscene how much wealth we're going to transfer in the next 20 years. What's going to happen, right? That's a game changer. Now, if you read the World Economic Forum stuff, they believe that we're in the fourth industrial revolution, right? First was the first mechanical loom, right? And that was a big deal, right? That was a big deal. That changed things, but it changed it a little bit on the big scale. The second industrial revolution, we started to look at mass production and really efficient use of labor. And then in the third, we began to use electronics at some level, a little bit of early stage IT. And then in the fourth one, we actually take physical and cyber systems and we connect them, right? That's the fourth industrial revolution. Many refer to it as the age of the robot. That's not really the way I think about it. It's the age of connectiveness. It's the connecting the dots in a really, really powerful way, right? The big thing to be aware of here is that the first mechanized slaughter plant was really the beginning of the second industrial revolution. We were part of that. We've been part of the third, and we'll be part of the fourth as well. The thing to really notice, though, is that leap in complexity. And I think Don said that, like it is more complex now than ever before, and complexity is not going to go away. But in the midst of this complexity, those who will win are those who are able to connect their heads and their hearts. This is not just a game of the head. This is a game of the head and the heart, and that's where we have an advantage. So what's coming? Well, I think the future is going to be driven by 5 big things: the Internet of Things, geopositioning, automation, data analytics, and sensing. I think these are big deals. I think these are real. Today, they're kind of standalone. The winners will be those who can really figure out how to integrate this stuff. It's already happening in the kitchen. Anybody seen a smart refrigerator? They're super cool, like really expensive, but super cool, right? And I could right now, with a smart refrigerator, I could get on my phone and I could find out whether or not the milk is about to expire or not, and whether or not how many eggs my kids had used, in my absence or whatever, right? And we'd have an inventory, and it would tell me, and it might even send me recipes for getting ready for dinner tonight. Based on what you have in the fridge, here's what you ought to be thinking about, right? Smart technology. Well, it's coming to us already. Today, those of you who are farming, here's the reality. I ask students, when do you do your homework during, harvest? Well, we're in a tractor, right? Because they don't have to steer anymore. That's when they're doing their homework, right? Big data. Big data is a big deal. Chief economist at Visa says, look, here we know exactly how consumers will spend their money. We know exactly how they will spend their money. They know globally 3 big things: cell phones, cars, protein. Those are the 3. That's what everybody wants. They know when the next big spending wave is going to come. Will be about 2023, 2024, and it's all based on how people cycle through spending in their lifetimes, when they buy things, right? They do that because they know big data. Here's what it means to us. Along the full supply chain, we're going to be able to take big data and we're going to be able to translate it to operational excellence. I believe we're going to get better as ranchers because of access to good data. We're going to get better at operations. We're going to be able to translate to supply chain orchestration in ways that have never been done before. Number one challenge we have today in the supply chain on a realistic basis: no truck drivers. Not enough truck drivers. It's a challenge. It's a challenge in your guys' business for sure, in the feed business and the ingredient business, getting it delivered. It's true for cattle. It's true for packers. It's true for box beef. We're struggling with this. We're going to have better logistics because we got less access to the talent we need. And then system transparency, which is going to be a big deal, and we're going to talk more about that. Augmented reality, right? This sort of virtual reality thing. Consumers are going to be able to take a picture of a product, whether it's online or whether it's at the store or whether it's at a food service place, and they're going to get product information, and they're going to get recipes, and they're going to get nutritional information, and they're going to get all kinds of advice. And they're going to be able to connect to a story if they want to do that, right? And what does that mean for us? We're going to be able to stand, out in a stand of corn, and with our Google glasses, we're going to get all the data we need on that stand in real time, right? And my niece is going to be able to fix our equipment using augmented reality without being a really great mechanic, because there's just going to be this augmented reality is just going to walk her through the process. Right? And she's from Boston, and she's going to be able to do it. That's pretty cool. You're going to hear more about this, but how are we going to take real information about genetics, not the predictions? Like, I have a PhD in population genetics, right? And what I learned, I'm so out of date, and I'm not that old. I can't even talk to the young geneticists anymore because I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. Right? They're just so much smarter than I am. It's just, and they have access to things. And we used to use supercomputers to do predictions. And today they go down and they just buy components at Best Buy and they make better machines. We're going to do crazy things with genetics. It's just the beginning. Drones. Right? Are they the full answer? No, but they have all kinds of opportunities. Yeah. What I love most about these are ecosystem monitoring. We operate in public lands. We have cattle scattered over huge areas. Man, would I like to be able to do a better job monitoring our resource base using drone technology, because it's cheaper and probably more effective than me sending cowboys out, right? Or sending cowboys with this technology as part of their arsenal. Robots. These are two French companies I'm going to introduce you to. This is called Octopus Robots. They are a chicken company focused group, and what they do is they have this little machine that goes through the chicken house, and it scarifies the litter, and it reduces ammonia, it decreases the bacterial load, and it improves the overall health of the birds in the house. That's kind of cool. It's just a little robot, right? It looks a little bit like my coffee pot on wheels. This is called the Bot. What it does is the problem in non-caged layer operations like the EU has across the board is floor-laid eggs, right? Because somebody's got to go pick them up, and then you've got a cleaning problem and all kinds of challenges. So you can train the hens to go to the houses, to go to the roosts. And so this little robot it's like a chicken cowboy. Right? This is a chicken John Wayne right up there. And it trains the chickens. Now that's just interesting. Right? And it does a really good job, and the birds aren't freaked out by it. And over the long haul, it's actually cheaper and more available than the labor they have. Machine learning. Okay, here's what's really interesting. Any of you ever had to, put in the little string of characters, numbers, or digits, right? Prove you're not a robot? That's BS. Just check the damn box. That's all they need. That proves you're not a robot. The reason you have to put in the strings of letters and numbers is because Google Maps, when they're not perfectly accurate yet, right? Because what they found was they were great technology, except when it came to sensing the house numbers. And not everybody's number's the same. And the street signs don't use all the same lettering. So they needed to be able to better recognize digits and letters. And so they have all of us trained to go, oh yeah, that looks like an M, an I, an L, an L, an S, a P, an O, an S, an E, and a Z. We type it in, and they go, look, 90% of people thought this was right. And we're teaching their machines to better read the numbers. That's what's really going on. They don't need that. That's not important to security. It's important to, can they tell which digit, right? It's like training your vet to read an ear tag, right? I just had to do that because I'm not a vet, okay? Where are we going to use it? Well, I think we're going to use it in logistics, health diagnostics, Because machines can think faster on more planes than we can, right? So I want my vet, but I want my vet with access to machine learning as well, right? So that we can make better decisions together from distance. Because the truth is, in the future, I don't think our vet's going to spend very much time at the ranch. Why? Because they ain't going to be there. And I can't afford for them to come all the time. So we're going to do it this way. Biosecurity, geospatial security, all those kind of things. Taking care of data security. We're going to do this with machine learning, employee training, pasture management. I actually think, Mark, I think the day's coming. I'm not even going to make the damn breeding decisions. I think there's going to be a set of algorithms, and they'll tell me, right, just do this. And I'll go, yeah, that takes a lot of time off of my hands. I don't have to read the damn sale book anymore. And you can buy me more beer, and we'll have more fun, right? But machines can't do everything well. They cannot do everything well. And so we need to be sure of understands. They are not empathetic, and they never will be. They are not empathetic. They don't understand large-scale creativity. They're terrible at large-scale planning, especially across complex systems. They're terrible at it. They're awful at it. They cannot do it. And I don't believe they'll ever be very good at it. And they cannot tell a story. They cannot tell a story. That's our power. We are the storytellers. That's our power. That's what separates us from the machine. Empathy and storytelling. Creativity and planning capacity. That's our power. We're not going to give that away to the machines. Blockchain. You've heard a lot about blockchain. All blockchain is, and at first I'm like, I got to learn new money or what's I'm all freaked out about it. And I got to really study it. All it is taking your spreadsheets, hooking them to an item, and sending them down the line, and the data just follows it. Whoop. And the only people who have access are the people who you gave permission to have access. And when you make a transaction, you all have to check off the box. And you can do it in real money, like we have. You can do it in euros, or you can do it in Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. All it is a way to move information with product. That's all it is. I don't think it's any more than that. There's probably some really smart economists in here going, where you go again, letting an animal scientist have a viewpoint. But I really don't think it's that complex. Right? It's about tracking and traceability. It's really what it's about. Because people want it. And so we're going to be able to do this at speed. And here's the reality. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It's already here. We are going to be accountable for what we produce. You said it this morning, I think you said, we produce the highest quality, safest product in the world. I agree. And if we believe that, shouldn't we be willing to put our family names on it? I mean, I really liked your dad. Your dad was really nice to me when I was young in this business and did a lot of good for me. And he always told me, he says, be proud of what you do. Right? So, yeah, and now we have the technology to make it easier. Right? And it's going to be secure. The security is a non-issue here. I really believe that. And we're going to get better, and we're going to tell a better story because of that, and we're going to have people who trust us again. Because this is the game in the market, right? And all the technology in the world cannot make that go away. Now, if you're under 30, the magic is how do you integrate all this stuff? Because nobody's done that yet. All this stuff is standalone. And it is cool, standalone stuff. And I'm like a terrier with a can of tennis balls. I'm super excited. But I don't know which damn ball to choose. Right? I love it. It's fun. But I need somebody to integrate it. And quite frankly, I'm not going to be smart enough to do that. But I'll bet you are. Oh, yeah, you are. Don't you ever shake your head no. So yes, I can. Yes, I will. I think you're going to run a big company someday. Now, who's going to win, though, in the long run are those who can keep human touch in this game, right? Food is so personal, right? Tom Peters, guy I just love a lot, brilliant guy, just has done more in the world of business than anybody can think of. And he says, look, in the age of advancing artificial intelligence, humans' advantage is diversity, twists and turns, and acts of customer love and amazement that algorithms cannot match, right? That's the magic, right, is our ability to do relationships really well. So in the age of disruption, it's still people first. That isn't going to go away. As we pick the technologies, which ones we pull out of that stream of cool stuff, we're going to have to think about what do we really want in our lives? Do we want things more like on the left or more like on the right? Now, I love the picture on the left. That looks really exciting, especially if there's a crash. Right? Because I really want to see that big yellow thing fall off of there. It's just the dark side of me, right? I mean, like, speed up, find a curve, guys. But I don't really want to run a ranch that way. That's too complex. I like this thing over here because I can use it. Right? All of you guys at this table, look at your phone real quick. Got your phones? Pull them up real fast. Count real fast how many apps you've got on your phone. Just super fast. And you can just BS me. I'm not going to check this. It's not a test. Just give me a number. Lexi, how many you got?
Probably about 100.
100 apps. Yeah.
128 gigabytes. I can hold a lot.
128 gigabytes, yeah. Half the room is going, gigabyte? What? Is that an Angus or is that, okay. Brant, how many you got?
I didn't even look.
What do you guess?
Oh, I probably have like 30 or 40.
30 or 40?
That's the same.
30 or 40. Do you use them all? No, right? Because some of them are really useful and some of them were just cool at the beginning and now you don't use them, right? So we need ones that we can use. Recent study, in the average company today, 32 days a year of productivity are lost to employees trying to learn a new computer application. 32 days of productivity. Now, I'm not going to pick on anybody unnecessarily here because I'm sure it doesn't happen at Kansas State. But come to Nebraska and learn the university accounting system. It will take you more than 32 days. Right? It's a problem. But here's the deal in all this. Right? We want functional. There are no silver bullets. There is no technology that saves the day. There is no technology that comes riding in with John Wayne and the cavalry that saves us. It isn't going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're still just a bunch of tools. Some of them better than others. Some of them will be more useful to us. Some of them will make us more money. Some of them will make our lives just better. Some of them will make our communications with family and with the people we work with and love the most better. But none of them are a standalone solution. So how do you get ready for this? I'm gonna recommend a book, okay? Now I'm gonna tell you right up front, this is not about technology. This is about the church. And this book is called Canoeing the Mountains. And it addresses the problem of why clergy are leaving churches in droves today. And it's not because they've lost faith, it's because they don't know how to run the organizations anymore. Because the organizations are so complex, because people's needs have changed so much, because disruption is so present, nobody knows what to do anymore. And so they wrote a book, and it's based on Lewis and Clark's expedition. And this is what Todd Bolsinger said. Look, you have to accept these things in the new world of disruption. The world in front of you is nothing like the world behind you. It's a frontier. Just like Lewis and Clark got in that boat, they did not know what lay up that river. So we have to be willing to go to the wilderness. And you'd think Mark and I actually planned this, and we didn't. You know, just it tells you how powerful your dad's influence was, right? He's got us both talking right things, right? Mark said, look, I'm only going to get in the foxhole with people I trust. And here's the deal. If people won't trust you on the map, they will not trust you off the map. To go off the map, trust has to be higher. Trust is so critical. And so those of you under 30, the most important things in your world is the quality of your relationships and the goodness of your word. Right? That's more important than all the technology you have at your disposal. So developing trust, and that's the same thing in the supply chain, right? If somebody can't trust me to provide them the right stuff when times are good, they're never going to trust me when it's tough. So we got to have trust. And we're going to have to adapt. In the wilderness, the only way to survive is to adapt. Anybody remember the story of the young guy that was hiking in the canyons in Utah and got stuck, fell, and his arm was stuck, right? And he had one way out. What was his one way out? Cut his arm off. He survived. He has a great family. He's got beautiful kids. He's got an extraordinary life. He's made amazing connections in the world because he had the courage to cut his arm off. I hope none of us have to face that, but he adapted. That's how he survived. You cannot go it alone. This is hard, and boy, this is especially hard for all of us who are male and over 40. Probably all males, but certainly for those of us who have a little gray hair. We want to go it alone, don't we? Because we think John Wayne is like, we still want to get on that big sorrel horse right up over that hill with the big pine tree and man up, right? I want to do that all the time. I know you do, because we and I talk about it all the time. Like, we love that stuff. But you cannot go it alone. This new thing is about partnerships and teams and talent. You have to have people in the boat with you. And here's the thing. With technology in and of itself is value neutral. It doesn't mean anything. Only how we use it, only how we deploy it, only how we integrate it, how we think our way through it. But the process of learning it, the process of going through the disruption, the process of recognizing that there are old world craftsman techniques that trump all of the new stuff by a factor of 1,000. Stockmanship is more valuable today than it ever was. Right? You can't have great AI programming without great stockmanship. The people who figure that out get transformed. And in this process, if you want to lead a company in the age of disruption, the person who will be the most transformed, who will be changed the most, will be the leader, if they're willing to get on the path, to go down the road, to see what's ahead without prior knowledge. Our forefathers knew it, our parents knew it, now we're going to get to know it as well. Thanks so much for letting me be part of your day.